Hey, it's Kelly from MXHideout. Are you new to dirt biking and wondering what the best two-stroke is for a beginner? Well, I'm going to share what I think are the three most beginner-friendly two-strokes that you can buy are. The first one is a Beta XTrainer. This is a 300cc two-stroke liquid-cooled trail bike that is based on Beta's off-road enduro cross-country race bike. However, there's a few major differences that make it more beginner-friendly. Number one, the engine is really detuned to have a lot softer, smoother power to make it a lot easier to manage and handle, especially riding tighter trails or just getting going. But make no mistake, if you do rev it out, it still has pretty good power. I think it's close to 40 horsepower. Another reason why it's so beginner-friendly is the lower seat height. I believe the chassis itself is smaller, so that lower seat height, it makes it easier to get on, a little easier to balance at low speeds because the lower center of gravity. It's easier to touch the ground, just give you more confidence. Someone like me, 5'6" with a 27-inch inseam, it's a lot easier to handle than a typical full-size 250 or 300 two-stroke. That's going to be an inch or 2 inches taller on the seat height. It's oil injected, so you just put in straight gas in the tank and then fill up the oil tank. It is pretty reliable, although some people block that off because they prefer to run premix only. And the Beta does have electric start, which is reliable. The suspension is going to be noticeably softer than a cross-country full-on race bike, so it'll feel more plush and comfortable and softer at lower speeds. Although if you do start running higher speeds, 20, 30 miles an hour, whooped out trails, you're going to notice the limit of the suspension very quickly. It's going to start bucking, at least with the stock suspension. Bike number two is the Rieju MR Ranger 200. If you haven't heard of Rieju before, they took over the Gas bikes, which KTM bought. Obviously, Gas is now owned by KTM, but the old Gas before KTM bought them, that is what Rieju is using and is updating in their modern bikes. And the 200 is kind of based on the old KTM 200. It has pretty smooth power. It's more like a 125 with more low end and mid-range torque. And then the Ranger model, which I gotta check if they updated it because I think they stopped making it for a year. I don't know if it's back, but the Ranger model has a lower seat height. The suspension is lowered with the lowering link from the factory. I think they lower the forks as well, but it's about 36 inches, so an inch and a half lower than the typical enduro bike. And the Rieju 200 also has electric start, although I believe it's premix only. Both these are carbureted. Now the third one is a little bit different. It's the Yamaha YZ125. It's just the smaller version of this 250. And while I don't recommend it to a true beginner if you're just learning how to ride, it is probably the best full-size beginner bike if you're new to motocross. So maybe you got some dirt biking experience and you're looking for your first motocross bike to go to the track or race. The YZ125 is a really good choice because it's lightweight, it's really simple, it's reliable. It doesn't have a ton of power, but it has plenty of power for even a 200-pound rider. Although it doesn't have much low end or mid-range torque compared to the 200 or 300cc bikes. So you gotta rev it out a lot more, use the clutch more, do a lot more shifting. Now, before I get to the two discontinued bikes, I will say that typically, I don't recommend a two-stroke dirt bike to a true beginner. So if you're looking for your first dirt bike, never ridden off-road, I highly recommend staying away from a two-stroke, at least for now. Why? Well, for one, they typically have snappier power. They have more horsepower than a true trail bike or beginner-friendly bike. This snappy power makes it just harder to control because you whack that throttle and it wants to kind of jump out from under you. It's just really not good for building confidence for new riders. Some people can jump on a 300 two-stroke and be totally fine, but the majority, or a lot of people that I've talked to, they've tried it, they don't like it. It slows down the progression of the riding skills because they're using more effort and brain power to focus on taming the bike rather than focusing on learning proper riding techniques. This is why I prefer starting on a slower bike rather than a bigger bike that you'll grow into. A lot of people say, oh, I do just fine on the bigger bike. I started on an RM250 or a KX500. Well, good for you. I'm all about safety. I want you to have a great riding experience if you're just starting out. That's why I recommend a smaller, slower, easier to ride bike. Even if you outgrow it in 3 or 6 months, that's great. You'll probably do better in the first 3 months on a slower bike than a year on a faster bike. Now, the two continued bikes that I highly recommend for two-strokes that are more beginner friendly are the KTM 200 XCW. KTM discontinued them in 2017-ish. Super great engine. It's based on the 125, but has considerably more low-end torque. It's an awesome woods weapon or mountain machine, even off-road out in the desert. It doesn't have a ton of power, but the power is fairly smooth compared to 125, and if you put like a FMF gnarly pipe, just tune it for low-end torque, it feels like a mini 300, but it's also lighter and less vibration. The second discontinued bike is the old Kawasaki KDX 200, also the 220. Kawasaki stopped making this back in 2006, I believe, although hopefully they're bringing them back. But it's kind of an older version of the KTM 200. It has older style conventional forks. It doesn't have quite the top end power, but it's very smooth, easy to ride, plush suspension. It kickstarts pretty easily. It's easy to tune the carburetor. So if you want to spend a little less money, the KTM 200 is great. Or if you want to spend even less than that, you could probably find a KDX 200 for under 2,500 bucks depending on where you live. But if you are a true beginner and you want a safer, easier to ride bike to start on, I'd recommend checking out my video here on the best beginner dirt bikes. Or if you want more two-strokes to look at, check out these, the 5 best two-stroke trail bikes based on your size and height and riding skill. I'm Kelly Figge from MX Hideout. Ride safe, have fun.